Hey everyone, this is Austin Schur here with We Write About Music, and today I'm here with Daniel. He's just released his latest EP titled Bedside A, and I'm super excited to talk to him about it. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on today. How are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, man, where in the world are you?
I live in Los Angeles, California, in Encino.
Oh, nice. Okay, I'm not too far off, around like the Santa Monica area.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
Nice, just
sweet.
over the hill.
Yeah, just over the hill. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
It's probably a lot cooler where you are at, my friend.
At the moment, yes, definitely, definitely. But most of my family lives around your area, so I'm
Oh,
there
really?
frequently, and it is quite hot, I have to say, or it's heating up for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Like 90.
Um, yeah, it's been terrible this weekend specifically. But yeah, man, I am super excited to talk about your EP. It's out, it's amazing, and I kind of want to start things off here by saying, so your music has this sort of lighthearted vibe to it, but it also grabs the listener and makes them focus in. There's
Okay.
like this nice stripped back feeling to it, but a really like calming atmosphere, which is
Thank you.
fantastic.
I appreciate it.
I want to talk about the lyricism though. I was
Mhm.
wondering if you could open up on the context of the singles Dead Roses and Acting Class, kind of
Yeah.
tell everyone what they're about.
Well, the whole EP in and of itself, we wrote, me and my writing partner and my production partner, Isaiah Bloss and Jed Peak, who I did the entire EP with. All four songs were written during quarantine,
Mhm.
towards I would say, the height of when everybody was sort of like about to pull their hair out.
Oh, you mean the beginning in the last
Well,
16
I think
months?
in the
Just
beginning,
kidding.
at least it was for me, and I can only speak for myself.
No,
In the
I
beginning,
know.
it was kind of because no one thought it was going to be as long as it was.
Exactly.
And then my wife and I were living in a one bedroom apartment in Hollywood at the time
Hmm.
when we started it, and it was like, everybody couldn't leave their little space.
Yeah.
And that's where all of these songs were born. Was this? I wanted to set a scene where it was the entire album had a beginning, middle, and end, but it took place in a bedroom. It took place in this one room where all you had were your thoughts. All you had were these hopes that one day we would get out so we could have a beer with our buddies or
Exactly.
whatever. So but in and of itself, it all revolves around this failed love story, this failed relationship. So it was pulling all from my own experience. It was all the relationships, sort of collectively, these breakups that I've had throughout my entire adult life was take took place. What if they took place all at once during a pandemic, and all I had was this room to write about? Kind of like when Fiona Apple locked herself away for a
Exactly.
weekend and wrote like this amazing,
Yeah.
all these music.
Bust out album of the year just really
Totally.
quickly.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So I think when Dead Roses started, what I did was first I put on I guess just how it was built was
Mhm.
I put together all these guitar loops that I played, both acoustic and both electric. And so my record label that's mine is Side Records. And so everything I put out, Night Side A, Night Side B, Bedside A, just now finished Bedside B, which will be an
Nice.
orchestral version of all of the Bedside A
Oh,
songs.
okay.
I've got a string quartet that we're doing. Every B side to my A side is just a reinterpretation of the songs from the A side. So I know
Vocals
traditionally
or no vocals? Are these just going to be
vocals.
instrumental? Okay, okay.
Yeah, these are
Got
vocals.
it.
So traditionally and I'm getting to your question about what those two
No, no,
songs.
no, it's fine. No, I love the expansion. Like,
But
please.
I, oh, okay, cool. So the traditionally a B side would just be more songs. You
Yeah.
flip the record over and you've got another two or three songs on the other side.
No.
I wanted to, because we're still in a singles market, because releasing albums is, the attention span we have for our listeners is so
Yeah.
amazingly short, because there's millions, tens of millions of songs getting put up on Spotify and Apple Music weekly. I thought, and because there is this idea of wanting to get my material into television, get it into
Okay.
film and get some stuff synced. I want to reinterpret those songs in a completely different light to see what they would sound like, in this case Bedside B, with a string quartet, and only a string
Sure.
quartet.
That's
and
beautiful.
let the story of the song, let the lyric of the song, let the story and the lyric of the song really just sort of float on this other sense of musicality, which I thought could be super cool. And so my A side to my night side A record were remixes of all of the
Okay.
songs from my song Pink Lemonade and Electric Currents that were all super up tempo pop, funky, kind of fun summer poolside music. Um, and so I worked with DJs on that to reinterpret those songs and do remixes on that. So this Bedside A all took place. The story all takes place in a room. Uh, Lyrics kind of cast on the wall. Writing from your bed, laying down, where thought just kind of flows into the next thought. And so visually, I needed to set that room. I needed to set the stage and set the space. So I worked with a graphic designer, this guy that goes by Cover Art God. That's super smart.
Great name.
I know, super great.
Yeah.
You like never forget that,
Oh, never.
never. And so I told him the concept of Bedside A, the whole EP, and it
Mm.
again 4 songs. This isn't like
Right.
it's not an album. It's only 4 tunes, and I debated just should I just put each out as a single and then just put the collection out. And so it came out on the 25th. It came out last Friday.
Mhm.
And so we've got acting class. We've got Dead Roses that came first, and that
Sure.
was setting the stage of the room. So I wanted to make sure that the bed was messy. I wanted to make sure that there was a nightstand there with a vase with a dead rose because he doesn't have
Right.
the heart to throw it out yet, that there's still these memories attached to it.
I
And
get that.
and this person that meant something so deeply to me and this character in this space was sort of a ghost in the room
Mhm.
that would be he'd be reminded of by a picture frame on the wall, or in this case Dead Roses single, there's these handprints on the wall that kind of appear and disappear that Cover Art God put. I was like, that's brilliant, that's so great, because they're like tattoos, they're memories, and
Got
they're
it.
they're scarred. So that's lyrically, that's where that went. And I love to write in titles. So I had the concept of Dead Roses as the concept for a title of a song. And when I had these guitar loops, I would send them to my partner Isaiah, and he would come up with a lyric idea or a melody idea, and we would just go back and forth and bounce. And so it came up where I was an actor. I was an actor for years before I did music full time,
Sure.
and I, like so many people living in LA, you've gone to acting classes, you've met people that that you have this sort of like amazing connection with, and you don't know if it's real, and people are kind of using each other, and it's this.
People are very fake. You could say
Yeah,
that. You could confidently say that. But
yeah,
at the same time, it's a networking opportunity, and
totally.
it's better to experience it than not, in my opinion.
Well said, and I totally agree with you. And I think that it's just a matter of you learn so much about yourself in that process,
Right.
in those acting classes. They're like very expensive therapy sessions,
100%. Yes.
and so
Yes.
like, it would be cheaper for me just to go to a therapist rather than to.
Probably.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's kind of how acting class started. And again, these are stories. These are from the beginning of the song. I introduce what this song is really about, and then hopefully be able to take them on a on a specific journey. Being
Right.
Calabasas with being one line. She moves away. She specifically moves to Calabasas. Like, I know where it is, but I've never been
Yeah.
there. The thing, I've driven through it, but I've never stopped for gas.
I get that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that each song was visual, so that the B side could just be supported orchestrally, and we could just use that as the crutch, so that I could just lend the vocal and tell the story in this whole unique way. So that's what that's.
Amazing. If I had to describe the album in one word, I would say intimate. I
Yeah,
think that just the way that you've sort of formulated everything, and everything is so personal, and just the whole sort of stripped back nature to it, like you really are bringing the person in like around a campfire and just say like, hey, like here are
yeah,
my stories, like let's everyone calm down and listen in.
that's cool. I'm
um,
glad that you feel that way. I see it. It's funny, as the co-creator of it and as the performer,
sure.
I see it as the one word being is vulnerable.
That
And
too, that
and
too.
for me, and partially why the album cover is me laying part, you know, you can see part of me on this bed next to this guitar.
Right.
There is a level of vulnerability in it, and I wanted to make sure that my vocal performance in it was different enough from Night Side A, which was obviously a lot more radio,
Sure.
a lot more top 40, and this was almost like the whole album could have been recorded with me laying on a bed, you know,
Totally.
laid back, sleepy.
I want to talk about the production side of things because I was
Yeah,
not aware that it wasn't just you. So first off, I'd love you to shout out the team again and kind of break down who does what and
yeah,
what
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
collaboration is going on here.
That's been the most fun part of this whole create the
I'm
team
sure
that
of
I
it.
have been able to. I've been so fortunate to be working among. Are like they've become best friends of mine, and
Mhm.
there's so much trust that goes into it, and so much relinquishing uh, of roles. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I'm such a firm believer of building teams, especially in the music
Yeah.
business, where you trust someone enough to just let them do what they do on it, and
Yep.
you may not have heard it done in any way, shape, or form like that. And there's so much freedom and liberation in that, and the
Exactly.
product, at least in my case, has been better every single time. So
Amazing.
it's awesome. So in this case, it went a little differently. His name is Isaiah Blas. He's a dear buddy of mine, great lyricist, great guy with melodies, and my buddy Ed Peak, who really headed up a lot of the production on it. And what, again, like I said, these were 4-bar loops that I started on guitar, and I
Sure.
sent them to Isaiah, and I just said, which ones do you vibe with? He's like, well, how many are we doing? And I said, I don't know yet. I said, we can
Sure.
do one, man. Like if you hate all these, let's start over.
Yeah, there
So
are no rules. It's
there
whatever
are no
you want.
rules.
Exactly.
There are no rules. And I had some idea. I had a couple lyrics like right out of the gate. Like "It's 1 in the Morning" was a song off of the song "Ceiling Staring," and I wanted that to be the opening line of the song. It's 1 in the morning. And then the second verse, it's 3 in the morning. So it's like only 2 hours went by since verse one. What the hell
Right.
happened in all this time?
Exactly.
And so Isaiah, whatever one he responded to emotionally, I was like, that's the one we're going to write, even if it wasn't one of my favorites.
Oh,
So then he and I just wrote the lyric and the melody over top of this 4-bar loop. And then right after that was done, I sent the vocal stems and my guitar stem over to my boy Jed. And Jed was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to put a little percussion on this, but he played the percussion on his desk and just pulled up
oh,
an SM7, mic'd his hands on a desk or on
would
the
have
back.
never known.
No, none. Or he took his guitar and played one note and just sort of swelled it out, or created some vocal effects with Dead Roses with the sort of my vocoder vocal
Right.
kind of swell into it. That kind of gave sort of a foreshadowing to what the orchestral version of the song was going to be, because I knew I wanted to do it with strings. And I said,
Sure.
well, if let's do this if we were going to do it with strings, but the label told us, even though we don't have a label, even though the label told us,
Sure.
make this pop, make this
Yeah.
like super pop, like that's the version that we did it on this. So the production, almost all of it outside of some very basic ideas and the guitar stuff, Jed contributed all of that to it.
Mhm.
So and it's what made the product so awesome and so much fun to work with.
What a team. How long have you been with these guys for?
So I'm signed to a publishing company called Angry Mob Music Publishing. I have been
Okay,
for 5 years now.
got
And
it.
Isaiah is a writer that I was working with. Isaiah had a band with Jed called Markets, and these guys, San Diego based. And I met Isaiah through a friend, and then in turn met Jed because he was in the same band. And I wrote a couple songs with the guys for their band years ago,
Oh, nice.
and it's where I met them. And Isaiah was just kind of getting into doing writing full time, wanting to just become a full time songwriter. So he wound up coming over and joining the Angry Mob team. And then Jed, me, and Isaiah just started. I was at home. The pandemic just happened. And I was like, okay, I have to up my studio game because I was always,
Obviously.
well,
First thing
yeah,
that needed to get done.
yeah, it's like I got all this time on my hands besides
Right.
like, drinking every day.
Right, that
Like,
too. That
what,
too.
what,
Gotta
what,
improve the home bar, the studio's getting an upgrade,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
what
So
instruments can I pick up along the way?
yeah, yeah. So I knew I had to do that. So I had come up with this track and sent it to Isaiah. We had this song. I had a lyric. I had a title called Pink Lemonade. Again, writing from a title. Want to do this
Right.
song. The pandemic just started, and we did the exact same thing that Bedside A started.
Yeah,
I started producing a track though this time, and did the piano, the guitar, sent it to Isaiah. We kind of came up with this melody, sent all the stems to Jed, and Jed just started playing live bass on it,
it's
added some
awesome.
guitar. All of a sudden, I said, "This song's done in like 2 days." And I thought, guys, if we do a song every 2 days, we could do an album in a week. I said,
Easy.
let's just do this. What else are we doing, right? We're home doing nothing.
It's
So
true.
so that's how that started, and that's how this relationship started, and that's how it's continued. It's just gotten better.
Right.
It's just like when you're in a marriage, you can finish each other's sentences. We're just
Exactly.
words now. So
I mean, that's some of for people that don't necessarily work on their own and people that have a team.
yeah,
Once you found that team and once you're vibing with other people who you trust and
yeah.
you can't let them go. And you
It
know
just
what I mean? It's
it just
that
gets
bond.
better too, man. It's like you're a musician, right?
Mhm.
And when you work with people, when you co-create a piece of music from the first song you've ever written with that person to the 25th song you've ever written with them,
Right.
they just get better, and you get better as a communicator. You get better at being able to trust the process and get out of your own way. And I
Right.
think the team is so important in being it for me, so important
100%.
in letting me get out of my own way, because I am my own worst enemy when it comes to
Exactly.
music. I have to trust that, like, I'll take chances. I'll be
Yeah.
vocal if I don't like an idea, or if it's not an idea I'm vibing with, for sure. But there is certain sense of freedom in being able to, like you said, and keeping the team tight,
Yeah.
keeping the team small.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't have 20 people on the project. That's too many voices.
Wow.
But
Katy Perry can have 11 writers on a song. I don't.
right. Yeah. Is she even involved in her own music? Like who
know.
knows anymore?
I
Uh,
know. Seriously.
I want to hear a little bit more about your personal process, though.
Yeah.
Before you bring an idea to the team, or before you even share an idea to anyone,
Yeah.
is it something that happens in the spur of the moment? Is it something that you're just kind of noodling around on a guitar? Or do you actively sit down and try to make something?
It's funny, man. Like, I guess I've been doing this now for so long. I've been doing this now for over 20 years, and I've written for, I've had some cuts. I've written for Pitbull, I've written for Chris Brown. I've
Nice.
gotten some major label cuts, which has been great. Which helped me get my publishing deal, but moreover gave me,
Sure. Yeah, you
which
gotta
gave
have
me
those
free.
credits.
Yeah, I mean, but it gave me the freedom to
Right.
be able to do this and to experiment. And I think initially, when I didn't have when I worked at a restaurant, I ran a restaurant for 13 years, and
Okay.
all the while I was building up my catalog in hopes of, but I was working from, like, 11
Sure.
in the morning until 10 o'clock at night, burnt out, like super burnt.
Yes.
And there's nothing worse than doing something that you don't enjoy doing and trying to be creative simultaneously. So at that
Yes.
point, dude, you
Currently experiencing that.
yeah, and it's like paying your dues, and you're like, how much longer do I have to do this
Yes.
before I can just do it? And I think I had to start writing music smarter, because the idea of me picking the guitar up and noodling around for therapy was always how I wrote, was always how I, and so there are still times when I will sit behind a piano, completely writer's block, nothing. I've got my piano here, so I'll
Sure.
play something, and in that moment I have a verse. And what is more frustrating than starting a song that you love and then never finishing it? And I was tired of having all of these unfinished songs, so I thought, let me transition into thinking, what is this song going to be part of? Or what is
Sure.
the purpose of this song? Is this song meant for another artist? Is this song going to be specifically written and produced for show X, Y, or Z?
Mhm.
Um, and so that's how I started to shift the way I wrote music, was to think of it as part of a canon, part of a collection, part of a catalog, part
I
of
love that.
and that way I could then put together the team, because I have various teams that I put together and work with,
Sure.
so that I knew who that song was going to be part of. If it was going to be part of
Okay.
my New Young Heroes project, which is like a lot of K-pop pitches and European DJ stuff.
Okay.
If it was going to be piano vocal stuff that I'm doing, stripping out all the production and sending it to a DJ in Lithuania to have them do a version of it,
Sure.
re-envisioning what that song at its core, because the bottom line is this: a hit song sounds like a hit song, whether it's
Yeah.
played on piano, guitar, fully
You
produced,
just know.
or a cappella.
Hmm.
It's the core of the song, the composition of the song is where, um, you know, for lack of a better word, that's where the truth of the song lives. So, if you're relying heavily on the production of the song, that's fine. I ain't dissing that. That works too. That's a lot of people listen to that and those instrumentals, and
Yeah.
that's what carries it. But it's just like trying to learn and trying to force your brain to write in a different environment.
Exactly. Completely understand. That's yeah, it's putting on a lot of different hats and trying to kind of like
Yeah,
sort. Like you got like internal folders in your brain of like, okay, this song could go here and this one could go there. And what about yeah,
it's like your portfolio. It's like a business.
exactly. A
You know,
hundred percent.
like,
A hundred percent.
it's like you may bump into, do I release this song or does this really sound like the Dvniel, my Daniel brand, my Dvniel?
Right, right.
Does it sound like Dvniel, or should I hold on to it because I'm working with an artist now, for example, that and even though it's a dude singing it, maybe
Mhm.
this girl would sound better from her point of view singing it. Maybe it's a better
True.
single for her. And then I, again,
Yeah.
get out of my own way. I
Yeah.
divorce myself from that because the song doesn't belong to me at that point. It's
Sure.
not mine. It exists. And I think that's the freedom. That's like, if we can all get to that point where it's not about like, oh yeah, yeah, I won, and I'm the best at this and I'm the best. It's like, it's not
Right.
to do with you, man.
But that's
Because
an
of
ego thing. And
course it's
so
an
many
ego.
people just want credit for every single possible thing that
I
creatively comes out of them.
totally.
And
And
when you put that aside for 5 seconds, you might actually see success in other areas.
amen. Absolutely.
I
Mazel.
love that.
I think all of that.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally true. And it's like,
Mhm.
I think, on that same token, it's like you create this piece of music, and then when you're not, when before I was doing this for a while, you keep rewriting it, rewriting it, rewriting
Sure.
it, rewriting it, rewriting it, not thinking like I could have written five more songs.
Yeah. A lot of
Let
time
go.
spent.
A lot of time spent. And I'm a huge fan of rewrites. Love rewrites, especially if the song's not working. I'm not the audience. You may not be the audience because you're a musician. The audience is my wife, who doesn't sing,
Right.
who listens to what she listens to. She's the one listening to stuff. My
Exactly.
brother can't carry a tune. Those are the people
Right.
listening to it. And if they like it, then you're onto
You're
something,
doing
you
something
know?
right.
Not not your friend who's like, hey, I think that you're in D minor, man. If you bumped it up to like E and turned to a major, I think I'm like,
The wrong
you do
person
it.
to get an opinion from.
No, man,
You
you
want
do
it
it.
from the general masses,
Yeah,
basically.
totally. Totally.
All right, so tell me this. You have, been on this path as a musician and a creator for so long now, it seems. I want to know, is there something specifically that you enjoy the most about it as a whole?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I think I touched on it, or I think I may have just told you all of it, but I definitely think that the uh, working with people is, who was it? I think it was Rick Rubin who said it. And I think he said, yeah, you can do this on your own. No, it wasn't Rick Rubin. It was, I don't know who it was, but they said, you'll be a lot happier if you do it with other people.
Right.
And
Makes
it's,
sense.
and it's true. Yes, we have become, it's, I've got great monitors. I could write and produce an entire record by myself in a room. I
Sure.
have done songs entirely on my own. It is more fun to work with other people on stuff.
I
And I
agree.
think that's what I've learned is, and never ever assuming that just because somebody in the room doesn't have the same credits that you do, or that they don't have as much
Yeah.
experience as you
That
do.
barely even matters
It
anymore.
literally, bro, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's like Yeah, I mean, you could have more experience of knowing, you know, what you want, but like
Sure.
if you have an artist in the I just worked with an artist recently and she's super duper talented. Her name is Kia. And we wrote a song together called Worth It. That was her single, turned out to
Okay.
be her single, and it did really well. And it was the first time I'd ever met her. And my buddy Simon, who's again in this team of mine, among the
Mhm.
Isaiah, Jed, is him, this guy named Simon, and his production partner Luke. So it extends. And so Simon hit me up and he goes, "Hey, I'm working with this girl Kia. I built a track for her. Can you come in and we'll just write this thing together, the three of us?" And it's like walking blindly into a room, never meeting somebody, knowing that the goal is to create a product,
Yeah,
and that's a lot of pressure.
a
And
ton.
it's a ton of pressure. It's less pressure for me. It's more pressure for an artist because the
Sure.
artist is, it's her in this case, or him or them that wants to have their soul onto a piece of music
Yeah.
that's so intimate. It's like a therapy session. So there's so much trust that needs to happen right out of the gate where they have to feel like you aren't writing it for them,
Mhm.
that you're giving them the space to become vulnerable and that it's a safe place to do that. So there's so many different hats that you need to wear as a co-writer, and I didn't know how much experience she had writing it. And
Sure.
we just kind of said, what happened? What's going on in your life? Like, let's just get to know each other first so we know what to write. Like, it's not all the time where they come in and like, I know exactly what we want to write. So we kind of hit a roadblock initially about at least getting started. So I grab a guitar and I'm like, well, let's just start on a chord progression. Let's see if
Mhm.
something happens there. And I'm mumbling some melodies. And she's like, oh, I like that. Okay, cool. Well, you just said that this thing happened where you didn't really feel worthy in this relationship. You weren't made to feel worthy. Why don't you like the title Worth It? And we could write us, oh, I love that. Let's do that. So we just start kind of writing, and I said,
Magic.
personal experiences, right? Like
Mhm.
if you're 18 years old and you're singing about stuff that no 18-year-old's going to have experience doing,
Yeah, well, that
it's
happens all
like,
the time. But you
come
can
on,
tell, you can feel it.
you feel it. It's disingenuous, and in turn, the audience, the listener's not going to buy it. They're not going to
Right.
believe you. So anyway, I got on a rant there, but yeah, that's
It's
the.
all right, man. No rules here either. Um, so is there a possibility of you touring these songs or anything that you've made in the past?
Yeah, for sure, man.
Okay.
I've got these songs that and again, Bedside A is a lot softer than
Sure.
Nightside A, and so it allows me to play maybe like a venue like the Peppermint Club, which is a venue here in
Yeah.
actually I've played before, which is awesome. And now that live shows are kind of coming back, which is
Ooh.
awesome. And so, but I could also strip it down and go play it like Genghis Cohen, a strip
Yeah. Oh, I love that place.
Bedside. I love that venue.
Great Chinese food.
And it's intimate. Yeah, exactly. It's really, really, really good food.
It is really good.
So good, dude. Why is it so good? And so, but then what I could do with bedside is I can
Hmm.
choose, do I want to have the show be quartet or do I want to just have Jed and me on stage just doing
Sure.
guitar?
I
And
mean, even based on availability, like, hey, I got two shows next week. Oh, I can make one, and then you can just have your own thing.
so yeah, to answer your question, yeah,
That would
touring.
be awesome.
Yeah, and I think for now it would probably be local, at least
Yeah,
with my stuff, with the solo stuff that I'm doing.
sure.
Um, and so I've got a rock band that I just put together with three guys out of Tampa called Black Gold City, and that's more of like a touring
Okay.
act. It's a really hard rock band, so totally separate. Uh, but yeah, that would be more the touring stuff. And if the tour stuff happens here, then awesome. So we'll see.
Amazing. Well, I'm looking forward to it. I'll definitely keep an eye out because I really do feel that these songs will translate well live, and
Thank you.
people
Uh,
are also just itching for any live music at this point. So let's get it
yeah,
going.
I know I am.
Oh my god,
There
man.
was a
Yeah.
place in Santa Monica too, man, that I used to play at. I loved going to just listen to music there. It's no longer. It was called Temple Bar, and then they changed it to Dakota Lounge, and then it burned to the
Okay.
ground.
It burned.
Burned to the ground, and the
Jeez.
only thing that was left was the stage. So I was like, irony here. Like I was like, I think it was so ironic, and
Wow.
it never opened. It never reopened, but it was such a good. It had such a good sound system. And
Dang,
it's the thing that LA. How long have you lived in LA?
I've been here like 10 years.
Where's home originally?
San Diego.
Oh, cool.
I
So
mean, I'm all my family lives here. I've been here all my life, basically.
okay.
Yeah.
But like, there's not a lot of venues we have here for, I would call it, for lack of a better word, like the middle class of live performers.
Sure. No, 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 no. You're totally right. Everything
It's
is
like
owned by Live Nation now.
that's exactly right. It's either
Yeah.
you've got the little joint on Pico, the Mint, which is really
Yeah.
great.
I mean, that's one of the few surviving independent
Yeah,
places.
the Baked Potato, which is kind of a
Yeah.
dive bar, but it sounds kind of cool. Or like the Greek. So it's like
Yeah.
there's
You're
like
not playing there. That's
no,
not
no,
happening.
totally. So it's like that's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
LA, maybe San Diego has more. I think San Diego has more venues.
They do have a lot of smaller venues.
I,
I don't know if you saw today, the Bootleg Theater
uh-huh.
announced it was closing, and that's one of like two or three
Such a
like
bummer.
truly independent places that are closing.
Oh, that breaks my
It's
heart.
just like, yeah, man. It's like, they were so close. They made it this far, and it's
Look,
yeah, it's rough,
that's why I love the Peppermint Club. I mean, although
right?
it's owned by Hwood Group, it's co-owned by
Mhm.
Interscope, I believe,
Oh, wow.
and
Okay.
the sound system is phenomenal. And
Mhm.
so, because a label was involved in some way, shape, or form when the
Yeah,
pandemic hit, we were like, "Well, here's hoping. I don't think it's going to close down. It might just reopen."
yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. So, I mean,
It's tough.
it's tough, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we will see. This coming fall is going to be basically who can get a spot. I mean, things are already on sale for the fall, but like,
Yeah,
smaller performers,
I
it's
know.
tough.
With the satellite, wasn't the satellite another
I was
place?
one of the first ones to close, I think,
I know,
like
and that was
6 or 7 months ago. It's
knife in the
yeah,
chest because there were so many great. It was such a great venue
I
to listen
agree.
to music.
Lots of good times there for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, on a more positive
I
note
don't
here,
know.
unfortunately, I want to know, setting the music aside for just a moment, we are about to hit the halfway point of 2021, which is wild. And I want to know about you as a person. What are some goals that you've set for yourself, and how do you plan on working on yourself for the rest of this year?
Oh wow. Uh, wow. Yeah. I don't know, man. I'm trying to get back to the gym. I guess
Yeah,
to get
sure.
back into fighting shape. I'm trying to continue to build networks, trying to build the community that I have.
Of course.
I've got and I guess it's kind of connected to music, so it's kind of cheating in your answer in this answer.
Again, no rules. You say
I
what you want.
started I started this thing last year called songwriting series with a buddy of mine,
Oh,
dear buddy of
cool.
mine named Greg Delson, who's a master vocal coach, and he and I it was a workshop, and so we had people come in and we taught. We had a lot of exercises with songwriting and stuff. So now that the restrictions have loosened a little bit, now that we're able to get out more, the plan is to be able to implement this thing, and start doing them again. It was really fun. We had opportunities for up and coming songwriters and producers to showcase their song for
Awesome.
not only Greg and I, but we would have guests come in, Grammy Award winning producers, songwriters, major recording artists that would be guests there, publishers, A&R, record A&R, publishing A&R. So
Yeah,
we would have them do it. So it was a really cool thing. And so I'm excited to kind of bring that back because it was more
that's
educational.
amazing.
Really enjoyed doing. And it kind of gave me a break of being in the studio. My folks are in town visiting from Mexico. So at some
Nice.
point, they live in Tulum. So at some point, my wife and I will get down to see them sometime
Very
later this
cool.
year. And
The hot spot right now.
yeah, and I'm gonna try and get down to the beach more this year. It's like
Yeah,
when you live in California, it's so close. Like,
I know.
I can count on one hand how many times I went down to the beach in the last, like, sadly, like the last 10 years. It's so depressing.
Can be a pain for sure. Because it's not
It's
just
weird,
going to
Santa
the beach,
Monica.
it's the whole setup. I know, but that's me saying that. I live, 10 minutes. I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
walk there reasonably. And it's just like, yeah, I could go
yeah,
every day, but
yeah,
something about it. It makes it less special.
totally. Yeah,
And I
yeah,
don't want to go by myself if people aren't around. So
yeah.
figure it out.
That's funny. Yeah,
I've got one more question for you here.
yeah.
One thing I want to know is, for the person that is going to discover your music from this,
Mhm.
and for the person that is going to kind of dive into your discography, what is an opening message that you would like to say to them?
Uh, Listen through more than a tune or two. That's what would be my hope. I know folks' attention spans are short, and when we're writing songs, it's like get to the chorus.
Yeah,
Don't just get to the chorus. The pieces of music that I'm putting together, the albums that I'm putting together, are all collections of stories. And if they have the patience to sort of sit and be with them, Nightside 8, for example, that album, which was 8 songs long, which was very, very much inspired by heroes of mine, such as like Steve Winwood and, Billy Joel and Paul Simon, and they're up tempo, they're fun. Whereas Bedside A sits as itself as a story from beginning to end. So if they have the patience to sit and listen through, and that's partially why I made the songs on Bedside A like 2 minutes long. They're short.
sure.
So
But you're making the music for the people that are, listening nowadays. It's like it is
yeah,
those short attention spans, but
totally.
I
Yeah, man.
still feel that the songs pack a punch even with a shorter runtime.
Oh,
So you've
good.
got
That's
that
good
going
to hear.
on.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. But yeah,
Nice. That's amazing. Daniel, thank you so, so, so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. It
my,
was really cool learning about you and your music and everything else.
oh, thanks, man.
For everyone else out there, Bedside A is out. Listen to it multiple times because it is really amazing. And I'm honestly I'm looking forward to the rest because an orchestral
Thanks,
version
man.
is, I know, going to be wonderful.
We're doing a video for it, which we're
Very
filming now,
cool.
and that'll come out. That's going to be a live studio video of the Bedside.
Nice.
That's how we're going to be putting this out. So that's what we're working on now with the string quartet. So there'll be visual with it as well, which will be fun.
Very cool, man. Again, thank you so much. I look
Thanks,
forward to speaking soon, and I sincerely hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thanks, you as well. I appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
All the
Bye
best.
bye.